Hello everyone, and welcome to this segment of our board candidate video series. This segment is focusing on the board's role in student achievement. And joining me to discuss that topic is Phyllis Barks. Phyllis is MSBA's Associate Executive Director for Leadership Development, and Janet Tilley. Janet is our Director of Board Development. And ladies, thanks a lot for being with us. We appreciate it. Phyllis, first of all, we like to say that student achievement is job one for a Board of Education. Why do we say that?
Well, Brent, there's nothing more important. I mean, our whole purpose for public education, our public schools, is to educate our students and to prepare them for their adult lives. It is that sense of urgency that we want boards to convey, and to, once they make that a priority, then that sends the message to everyone that we're all in this together. And if school boards are focused on students learning and that they're making it a priority and talking about it, then it will become a priority for everyone, and our students are apt to be more successful.
Mm-hmm. Well, Janet, how do we know how well our students are doing? What are some common measures of student achievement?
Well, we turn to assessment, and assessment really falls into three categories. There are some national level assessments, there are state assessments, and local assessments. And most common that we know of and that boards really monitor will be the state level assessments, or what we call the MAP. And those particular assessments are in two different categories. One of them are called grade level, and those grade level assessments are those that are given to our elementary students beginning in 3rd grade up through 8th grade. And they fall into 4 categories of English language arts, mathematics, science, and then social studies. And the social studies piece is optional at the elementary level. Not many give that particular one. They wait for that until high school. And in high school, we have what are called end-of-course assessments. And these are assessments that are given at the end of certain courses that students are required to take. So, for example, in mathematics, they take what is called the Algebra 1 end-of-course exam. For English, they take the English 2, which is usually given at the end of maybe a sophomore or a junior year, but the English 2 end-of-course exam. For social studies, they are required to take a government, and in science, they're required to take biology. So those are given depending upon when that course is offered for our students. Those are our main measures that we use. Local districts will obviously give some local assessments, especially to those primary students, usually in reading and mathematics, and that will just vary according to the district. And then at the national level that I mentioned, those will be assessments such as the ACT, the SAT, something called the ASVAB, that are more given nationally across the entire United States to students, and those are more college and career readiness kinds of measures. So those are the things that board members need to know and understand, that those are given, and to be able to monitor, to be able to see how well their students are performing.
So a school board member, then, Janet, would have access to this data, and then the board would be able to make an assessment of how well their students are doing. Is that correct?
Well, yes, and I will tell you that for the MAP data, for our state assessment data, that those general results are available to the public at the district level. When you can, as they say, kind of dive down or dig down deeper, all the way even to the student level to see how they are doing. You have to have certain access to be able to get to that data. But board members will want to be able to look at that broad general kind of data to see how their kids are doing at that district level and maybe across buildings. And it's really the primary responsibility of our educators and our teachers to really know how our individual students are doing and really examine that data to be able to plan and inform their instruction.
And Phyllis, in our state, we have something called the Missouri Learning Standards. What are those?
We do. Well, as Janet referenced the MAP, the Missouri Assessment Program, those assessments are focused on how well our students are achieving those Missouri Learning Standards. And those are very broad ideas of what we think students should know and be able to do by the time they graduate high school. And the standards are broken down by grade level and by subject area as kind of building blocks for what students should know at each grade level in each of those subject areas if they're going to be ready for employment for the military, for colleges, or other career ed kinds of programs. And so those provide guidance, and we've had standards in Missouri for decades, at least back to the 1980s. And in the last few years, they've been updated a couple of times.
Mm-hmm. So these evolving standards, Phyllis, what implications do we have in our school districts when these standards evolve? The curriculum changes, I presume?
Absolutely, right. So when the standards change, then local districts with their teachers and administrators need to review those and say, how have they changed, and what does our curriculum need to look like, so that we ensure that we're providing our instruction to help our kids be successful. And teachers might need professional development to help them incorporate those within their teaching and instruction in their classrooms. And there's some local expense involved in that we need to provide time for them to examine and revise their curriculum. So there may be costs associated with that. And then also looking at the textbooks or other resources that we use in those classrooms. Are those still appropriate and current with the current standards?
And our standards in Missouri, Phyllis, are regarded as pretty rigorous, aren't they?
They are. In fact, they have been for decades. Long before there were federal requirements, Missouri had high learning standards.
Janet, our candidates may have heard about something called MSIP, the Missouri School Improvement Program. What is that, and why is that important?
Well, it's a way to determine accreditation for your district. We talk about districts being accredited, provisionally accredited, or unaccredited. And there are 5 key standards under our current MSIP program that districts will receive points on and need to be able to monitor. And the first one, of course, is student performance, overall student performance. That will refer back to those assessments that we just talked about. The other is that we look at subgroup performance. And so we look at our students who are on free and reduced lunch, who are minority, who are English language learners, who are may have an IEP for special education, because we want to make sure that all of our students are achieving. So they kind of section out and look at how well those students in that subgroup are doing. The other areas that we examine will be college and career readiness, and this will be, of course, be some of the scores that you get on those assessments that we talked about, and also advanced placement and kind of that international baccalaureate types of degree, if you're offering those types of courses, and how well those students do. And then how well the districts are doing in placing students after high school in either careers that are aligned to what they were focusing on in high school, and or going to 2- or 4-year colleges or the military. They also look at attendance. We have a standard in Missouri that 90% of our students need to be in school 90% of the time. And then the other, of course, will be the graduation rate. And so those 5 key areas make up the points then for your accreditation.
Mm-hmm. So, Janet, I understand the MSIP program is revised every once in a while, isn't it?
It is revised about every 5 to 6 years. We step back as a state, and there are educators who are part of the process to examine to see, are we really measuring the standards that are of importance? And so we encourage our board members to talk with your superintendent, look to see what's being evaluated now under the current MSIP program, and to answer the question, well, how is our district doing?
So, Phyllis, are there some federal laws that come into play when we're talking about student achievement and Missouri schools?
Yes, there are, Brent. In fact, there are a number of federal laws that impact school districts and decisions that board members make, but there are 2 that are probably most familiar. One is the Every Student Succeeds Act, and that has most recently been revised version of the Elementary and Secondary Education Act. And that law really provides some support for states to ensure that students that have disadvantages like poverty and other needs are receiving appropriate supports to help them be successful in school. The other law that folks are probably most familiar with is the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, or IDEA, and that's our special education law that ensures that our students with special needs are getting the appropriate services.
And Janet, obviously school boards are not, school board members are not in the classroom every day, but,
No.
But do they really have an impact on student achievement, and how does that happen?
They do, and there are really some core research studies that have been done about the impact of school boards on student performance, and there is a link, a correlational link, but a link between good school board governance and improved student performance. And what they have found is that these quality school boards, number one, is they focus on student performance and student achievement. Number two is that they are very specific about what's the mission and the vision for this district, and they have very measurable and clear goals. The other thing they do is that they monitor their progress towards achieving those particular goals. These school boards have a positive relationship with their superintendent. And the other thing that we have found is that these board members engage in their own professional development. They realize that they don't know it all when they're elected, and that they need to continue to learn and to train, just as they expect their teachers and their students to do.
And Phyllis, in this discussion, we're just scratching the surface really on student achievement, and our board candidates, should they be elected, will have the opportunity to participate in some additional training and learn more about this topic and other topics as well, won't they?
Absolutely. We do provide the required training for new board members, and it does go into more depth about student achievement and really about all the ways in which boards can engage in their work to promote success for their students. And so that's really good foundation information, and obviously we provide ongoing support and training to board members along the way.
All right. Phyllis Sparks, Janet Tilley, thanks so much for being with us. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
And we thank you for joining us on this segment of our board candidate video series.